then we're going to move right on to our final panel. And I'm going to have Katherine Barr with STEM Paths come up. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone who's here today. It's really exciting to get a chance to share the stage with three really great panelists. I think that this panel is called What's Keeping Business Leaders Up at Night, but I would say business and community leaders up at night, because I know that the three people that are joining me up here are leaders both within their businesses, but also within our community here in Kent. I'm the executive director, a co-executive director of STEM Paths Innovation Network, and we're a nonprofit working to close the opportunity gap in STEM careers and education here in South King County. And so we're really, really excited to be able to talk to these leaders about what's keeping them up at night, how some of the changes that we're seeing in AI, in workforce, in policy are really affecting them on a day-to-day basis. So with that, I will welcome them to the stage. Well, again, thanks everyone. Thanks for all of you joining today. We're really here to learn more about, as I said, what are our leaders seeing out in the community today within the businesses that they work for, the communities that they support, and the environment that we're all now living within. So what pressures are they facing? So I just wanted to start by asking each of you to introduce yourself briefly. Tell us your name, your organization, your role, and one sentence about your perspective on today's conversation.
My name is Raj Sidhu. I'm the founder and president of Intech Consulting. We are an IT cybersecurity firm based out of Kent. And my perspective is that I am around 30 business executives, business owners, any day, any week, any month. I get to hear about all kinds of issues and all kinds of things that they're dealing with. So I'll be speaking on behalf of some of them.
Gave it to me. So kind up here, all the sharing. My name is Kirsten York. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the CEO of Multi-Service Center. We are a community action nonprofit that serves all of South King County. We served about 111,000 plus individuals and families last year with a variety of programs. The one sentence about this particular topic was how do we keep showing up and serving our community while centering our staff's well-being?
And hi, my name's Andrew Hanna. I spent the past decade of my career making sure that government policy aligns to keeping America competitive at the forefront, whether it's in our zip code, our state or region, or internationally. I'm the director for civil space and business development at Stoke Space. We're building a fully reusable rocket to compete directly with SpaceX and Blue Origin. We're located 9 minutes away from here. And before this, I've worked in aerospace, I've worked in the US Senate, I've worked in journalism at the beginning of my career. I think the one sentence I would share is sort of aligned with what my experience is that I think there's both opportunity and risk, and the decisions that policymakers make at any level of government are really going to play a role in whether America and the businesses that are American stay competitive.
Great, thank you all. So we're going to start with the big picture. Thinking about, from your seat as a leader, what is the biggest pressure facing businesses or employers right now? And I'll start with Raj. If you could talk a little bit about what you're seeing from businesses when it comes to risk and technology and operations while staying competitive in this environment.
Yeah, what the number one theme that I see when I'm talking to business owners, executives, operators, is uncertainty and what they're trying to do with that. So there's been, over the last year, there's been all kinds of issues when it comes to supply chain, when it comes to costs and keeping track of making sure that you're actually making the margins that you started out with. Because I've had clients that have had to go back multiple times and reassess how they're doing things because in a 3-month period, the product that they were making and selling became unprofitable at points. So that's the number one thing that I hear is uncertainty, is folks trying to deal with what's going on and how are they going to either take advantage of the situation or just trying to play by the rules and trying to survive. So from my perspective, there's a lot of uncertainty still in the market, in the business world.
Well, I agree with that, since day to day we wake up every morning and think we're going to read the news and see something new that's going to impact our work or our clients. But I would say, big picture, I will use the term safety. safety and stability creates, calmness and clarity about where people can eat and where they can live and where they can heat their homes, whether they're going to have a job, whether it's internally in our organization, right, keeping people employed, or the people coming to our services experiencing crisis. So the big picture is how do we keep people safe, whether that looks physical safety, mentally safe, clarity around funding and volatility creates an instability. So I would say safety overall is a big concept for big picture thoughts in our work.
So for us, we're really in a dogfight for talent, and I don't just mean against other companies that are also building space rockets. We are competing with different states who are trying to attract business and talent to their state. We have been trying to fill certain roles, whether there's very specialized structural engineering roles or avionics roles. And not only do we have to compete against the big dogs of aerospace, we have to compete against other states who not only have different tax policies from us, but candidates are looking in things sort of like what we discussed earlier in capital gains and some of the other personal income taxes, and are questioning whether or not it makes financial sense for them and their family to move to Washington State. So our industry is very, very specific because we have these very specialized needs, but I can imagine that we're not the only ones feeling that impact.
To follow up on that, Andrew, I would ask, the next section is around workforce and talent. So you've already sort of mentioned, the challenges more broadly that Stoke is experiencing, but when there's a reason why you all are located here in the Kent Valley. And so what do you see locally that, might be able to shed some light on how we can build some more capacity within Kent for our workforce? Because I think you guys are probably looking nationally, internationally, but what are you looking for? Are you looking here close to home?
Sure. Well, all cities should have a Bill Ellis, who I see right over there, because without him, I don't think I really understand what to do or how anything really works. But that's not a permanent solution. I think basically what it comes down to is, do you have the different infrastructure of government and supporting infrastructure like the Kent Chamber of Commerce or the King County Chamber of Commerce that understands that businesses should be part of decisions that affect businesses. I was really struck by what Carmen said earlier. I didn't know anything about the hairdresser bill, but if policymakers are making decisions about businesses without talking to any of those businesses, you're going to have bad policy. I know this because I was a policymaker who probably made some bad decisions without talking to constituents or people who were impacted by it. And then when I did, I changed my mind, right? I adjusted course because the people who we were ostensibly trying to help said this isn't helping us. And so I think that's the biggest X factor, and then everything kind of flows down from that. Everything related to recruitment of talent, whether it's those really hard to change things like the tax environment, but they can also be really little things. They can be about, hey, is it affordable and safe to live in the Kent Valley with my family? A lot of people don't know anything about the Kent Valley when they're applying for jobs around the state, and so they may have a perception that's not accurate. And I think that one of the things that's really helpful is showing people, bringing them here, showing them what it looks like in person, but also cultivating a reputation.
Thank you. And then for Kirsten, from your perspective, working with a lot of the residents here, what are the barriers that you think are keeping people from entering, staying, or advancing in the workforce?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit, right? So I'm sitting next to two people who can pay people a lot more than we can pay them. But we're really fun and have good personalities and do really good work. So one of the things that's really important in the nonprofit sector is to recognize that people come to this work because they want to impact their community positively. And we have a culture of giving and compassion and sharing. And so our workforce depends on us to also give them flexibility around their schedules and clarity around their work, to really create benefits outside of just their pay that mean a lot to them, like time off. We have sabbatical policies. We have lots of ways in which our staff can come to our work and really engage, go to school, professional development, training them, working on the things that they're really excited about. And really it's like culture development. We want to be a place where people choose to work and choose to stay. So what that looks like to us means, how we show up in our staff meetings, what kind of community drives are we doing toward impact. So it might look different than other places and for-profit businesses, but I think the tenets are the same, right? Like people are gonna stay where they feel valued and they experience a sense of belonging and they feel like their work is helping in some way to whatever is outside of them. So that's really driving our workforce and talent.
Thank you. And then Raj, finally for you, working with so many different business owners and businesses, what are the kinds of skills, talent, those kinds of things that businesses kind of across sectors might be looking for in the folks that they're hiring?
I think what we're seeing as the younger folks enter the workforce, AI and their access to AI or their familiarity with AI is really it's pretty fascinating to see. I've hired a couple of new people and I'm amazed at what some of these folks can do. I mean, the policies that we used to generate, the things that used to take forever are now a couple of clicks. So, just familiarity with newer technologies. And I'm also seeing a lot of the older workforce kind of, get frustrated with some of the newer tech that's coming out. So, we're working with our clients to educate, to train their folks on some of the newer techs that are coming out. So, from my perspective, I think there are a bunch of free certificates and training programs that are offered by Google, Claude, you name it, any of these AI companies. I would recommend that you at least play with that, or if you are an organization, encourage your employees to really start the training on AI. I think that's really going to be a big differentiator in the workforce in the future.
Thank you,
Can I add
Raj.
something to that?
Yes, please. I was going to ask you
Yeah, I
next.
think a lot of it is leading by example at the highest level, and it doesn't have to be as complicated as I, the CEO, now learned how to make an AI agent because I don't know how to do that, and I'm also not the CEO of my company, but I don't know how to do that. I'm a mid-level employee. It can be as simple as, hey, we're going to start using shared documents, and we're going to have collaborative workflow, and we're not going to have attachment version number 11.5 and send that around to everybody. I think that people get frustrated, dealing with internal bureaucracy enough and adopting technology tools that are actually quite commonplace. I mean, a lot of people, all college students, I learned this very recently at a college reunion I went to, the kids are setting up dates through Google Calendar now because they all use Google Calendar in middle school and now they have Google Calendar in college and that's how they set up dates, which is kind of shocking for me to learn about, but it makes a lot of sense. At Stoke, we have a transparency policy where basically by default people's calendars are visible and you can make things private, of course, if you need them to be private, doctor's appointments and sensitive meetings. But it really cuts down on administrative time. We really don't have executive assistants scheduling meetings with everyone. They kind of just see when people are free and then they schedule.
Thank you. And Kirsten, how about you from the nonprofit perspective? Have you seen AI and technology either disrupting or supporting the work that your staff does in the community?
Yeah, I would say, just to give a reference point, this is really new in the nonprofit sector. I will say that we have an incredible amount of databases and systems we have to enter a lot of data into, and ironically, they don't talk to each other. So we might have one grant that requires a federal level database, a state level database, and then if it's washing through the county, they require reporting in databases. We have an internal database, people are clocking their time, so I feel like there could be some opportunity for efficiencies, but one of the things that AI struggles with when we're working with clients, right, with personal identifying information, is confidentiality. Also, we have clients who already struggle with providing the information that's required to us to get eligible for services because of the risk of information going through systems that which they are being considered for immigration enforcement or other things that are not helpful to their status to work and live and have homes here. So we're really cognizant about what the impact is based on the efficiency that we're gaining, and we have a lot of ethics and principles around how we use technology in order to do our job well. I would like to see more efficiencies, and I would love our funders to get together at a conference and use the same system. And I would also say it's not well funded for us. So we are obligated as an organization to pay the cost of those efficiencies. They're not built into our grants and our funding. So if the systems itself want that efficiency, I think there needs to be some consideration and some commitment, right, that this is the way in which our sector can move forward.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add something. I think the conversation around AI has been going kind of in the wrong direction from my perspective. When you hear AI, most of the time people are telling you, oh, AI is going to replace your jobs. I don't feel that way. Everything that I've looked at, I don't, as a business owner and as somebody that is in charge of technologies and strategy and direction for several organizations in the area, we don't go to our clients and say, hey, we're going to help you, replace 5 employees in the next year using AI. Instead, the conversation is completely different. It's how do we take AI and give it to your employees, to your team members, and have them use it as a resource. So, for example, I hired a salesperson. That's our first salesperson. We typically would go to a marketing agency to have them create flyers and all kinds of things, and usually special graphics and all that. And now we don't have to do any of that anymore. My salesperson he's got a bunch of MCPs, and we exclusively use Claude. But Claude helps him do all these things. So instead of having him wait, for the designer or for that subject matter expert, he's already putting out the flyers. It's pretty amazing what he's been able to do. He's audited our website for SEO and AGI, and then had the AI give it recommendations, and then had the AI make the changes. But he's still in charge. He's still, facilitating the changes. So this is where, a project that probably would have cost $30,000, $40,000 and involved 2 different vendors, now we're able to do in-house because of what AI is able to do. So do not, when the conversation starts around AI, do not. For me, there's 2 ways you can take that. One is being scared and going, okay, well, AI is going to replace us at some point. That day may come, but more likely, AI is going to function like this maybe a year or 2 years from now. And this is my dream world. This is how I see AI working out. I wake up in the morning, I don't feel good, and I just tell my phone, I am sick today. It looks at my calendar. I have a meeting with Spencer at 8 in the morning. It sends Spencer an email and says, hey, Spencer, Raj is sick today. And then whatever else I've got going on, it is making those decisions for me based on the condition that I have set. So that's where I see, and that's just one aspect of our lives that I feel it's going to improve. There are so many different things where AI will actually be an assistant to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think just to add to that, I agree. I think it's really interesting to think about the difference about how AI can be used for small businesses, small nonprofits, and the way it can really help folks who don't have the resources to hire marketing people, don't have the resources to do X, Y, and Z, to then be able to quickly do that well with the assistance of AI, and feel so different from a large company who, maybe they are replacing people, but I did just hear the other day that the latest run of layoffs at Microsoft, they're hiring just as many people, it's just different jobs. So in thinking 5 to 10 years out about how we want to be training our young people, which is what we do at my organization, it's really getting our handle on that. What are the skills in 5 or 10 years that are going to be in demand in the workplace, as opposed to kind of being scared of it now? I think it's loose in the world, so we have to figure out how to deal with it. So thank you. Kind of goes to our next round, which is around policymakers and partners. And so I just want to take the opportunity to ask each of you about, if you had 5 minutes with a city council member, a county leader, an elected official, Zenobia, and you wanted to tell them what to advocate for. I'll start with you, Kirsten. What community conditions need to improve so that people can work, stay employed, and advance, live a great life here in Kent?
Yeah, it feels like I should be able to answer this really well. I got to a lot of things I could say.
You have to be honest.
All right. Well, I have some board members in my room here, so. I really feel strongly about people thrive when they're fed and housed and can heat their home and have their kids in safe childcare and get to where they're going and are not making really difficult decisions about whether they're going to buy school supplies or feed themselves at night, right? Because we can't make decisions in spaces where we're not fed and housed and well. And so whatever that looks like, whether you're a funder, a business owner, an employer, I think we need to be really thoughtful about the fact that you don't thrive when your basic needs are not met, whatever factors you're talking about. So if I'm in a room with a legislator or a decision maker, I like to just say, how are we helping our communities? Because this is an economic driver too. You can't go to work if you can't feed your kids and you don't have childcare and you can't get there and you're gonna lose your housing, and then where are you gonna shower, right, if you don't have a home, and where are you gonna store your stuff, and how am you gonna pay for gas? And so there's just like logistical challenges to the community that we need to think about, and our job as a nonprofit is to serve community for basic needs, but also we're thinking about this internally. We want to be able to pay our staff a wage that's not just livable but thriving, and so that they're not at a wage that they actually qualify for our services, right? So funders really want nonprofits. This is an older school model to do for a lot for a very little amount, but the reality is to live in this area, it is expensive, y'all, it's expensive. And so if we're gonna be a disruptor of economic change in our community for our clients, we also need to do it for our staff, so that's what it is.
As a staff member of a nonprofit, I applaud that. Andrew, what about you from Stoke's perspective?
Sure. So Bill will get mad at me if I don't mention opportunity zone. So Kent should be an opportunity zone, and if you want to know what that is, go talk to Bill. But I did talk to our CEO right before I came here about this specific question, and we sort of agreed on what it was. And basically, we sort of think that we are preparing students for an economy that doesn't exist anymore right now. I'm like going down to the secondary and high education level, like high school. I agree with you, Raj, that AI is going to basically make individual contributors superpowered, individuals who can do a lot more in the way that you would normally like either contract out or segment a job into multiple functions. Just yesterday, I did a quick and dirty, market analysis using not Claude, ChatGPT, on this general size of Europe versus Asian launch markets, how much governments are spending. And I'm not going to rely on that to make all my decisions. I'm going to go do more deep research, but it was to frame a conversation we were having at Stoke about the future. And so that saved a lot of time and let me do other tasks that only I could do. Or, we have restrictions because of, federal government regulations about what we can even put inside AI model, so we have to create our own sort of sandbox model. But that's just a really roundabout way of saying, I think that right now the way that schools are implementing AI is actually using it to replace critical thinking, which I don't like and don't appreciate, instead of thinking about AI as the sort of thing that can help you do something you already know how to do a little bit faster, a little bit better. I also think, I went to college, I also got a graduate degree, and I appreciated those experiences, and I would not tell anyone who wants to go to college they shouldn't go to college, but we have roles at my company for people who do not need a college education. They only need a GED, and we recruit people from high schools and community colleges to be entry-level aerospace technicians, where they work on the manufacturing floor, they work with 3D printers, they work with laser welders, they get paid time and a half. It's a really good deal. If anyone who's interested, they should apply to the ELAT program on our website. And they learn skills that they can then use in advanced manufacturing, not just at Stoke, but any of the aerospace companies in the Kent Valley. And so it's basically an apprenticeship model, but we run it ourselves because we want them to learn how to use our systems. And so those are the kinds of things where right now, if you look at the way that they do workforce development in high schools, there's career and technical education, and that's viewed as like a stigmatized thing because you're not going to college. And even the acronym CTE has like stigma associated with it because it's not a good acronym because it also means something else. And so I think that we really need to rethink how we are communicating to people between the ages of 14 and 18 about what career opportunities exist, what is a good career, what you can make money, and hopefully you can do all the things we talked about, afford groceries, raise your kids, and you don't have to have a master's degree in whatever, right? Also, last on that, I agree with everything you said out that people need to feel safe. Like public safety is kind of the baseline, like communities will not interact with each other. And you saw in a very positive way, in my opinion, during the World Cup, people felt safe to be outside, and there was so much economic activity, and people were out and about in Pioneer Square, et cetera. And I really, really hope we keep that going.
Thank you. Did you want to add?
Yeah, so I'd be a little bit more direct. I'm not a politician, and I don't mind holding my, I don't like holding my opinion back. So what I would say is that you're not listening. The politicians are enacting laws that don't make sense, where they don't apparently talk to the constituents and see what actually needs to happen and where the pain points are, and we get dealt with some laws that just are they don't make sense. So I would be a little bit more direct and say that you need to start, just like Andrew said, we need to refocus, reshift our thinking. We've had college shoved down our throat for 3 decades, 4 decades. That was the only really way that you could excel in life. Well, technology has changed, and we're shifting away from that. There are great paying jobs at companies like Stoke and lots of other companies here that don't require a college degree. So one of the things that Zenobia and I are doing, and the board at Kent Chamber, is we're going to be working with local companies and the local schools, and trying to get them to become a pipeline into these companies, so that we have local talent that we're growing, and hopefully working with politicians to create some funding for those programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Raj, Andrew, and Kirsten. That is exactly what my organization does as well. So love to hear that from you all. We're going to be co-hosting with the Chamber the next luncheon on September 3rd. We're going to be diving into these issues really deeper into how we can connect, our schools with our businesses, regardless. And what does that look like in between when it's not a college, more traditional college program, if it's an apprenticeship, a pre-apprenticeship, on-the-job training, all of those things. So mark your calendars for that. Come and let's talk about this some more. But before we end, we might have time for a couple questions, I'm not sure, but just wanted to go around. I mean, everyone, there's so much talent, there's so much passion in this room, people who really care about this community and one another, and just would love to just ask if each of you maybe would have a message for what's one thing that this community could do together across sectors to really make King County, South King County, a stronger place to work and succeed.
I would say there is a lot worth investing in, and I would also say that each one of us has an option and an opportunity to make an impact every day that we show up in our world, right? And I think that gets lost in a lot of the things that we're up to and here, and we feel like things are hard and it doesn't make a difference, but literally we see how someone can change if you acknowledge their humanity. And I think that doing that each day, whether you're smiling at someone who's sitting on the street, whether you say hello to someone in the grocery store, whether you help a mom who is struggling in the parking lot getting her groceries in the car, whatever you can do to see someone else's humanity, I think makes all the difference and is where we can start.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would expand that to the community level as well. I mean, I think a lot of us feel sometimes like we're in our silo, whether it's in our nonprofit or our business, dealing with some really, really giant mountain that we have to summit by ourselves. And we don't realize that that company down the road and that nonprofit and that person are all dealing with the exact same problems. And if we all together went and had a voice in unison saying, hey, actually, the thing that you are asking all of us to do is not possible, or it's really hard, or if there was a change, it would make life a little bit easier for people or individuals or people who want to start and grow their business. I think that would be good. I also think it requires the second piece, which is for the policymakers or politicians to listen and then make decisions based not on political calculations, but on what is best for people in the communities they represent.
I think the one thing that I would encourage everyone in this room to do is when you see something that you're dissatisfied with or that you're unhappy. So since Bill is here, I'll pick on the city. If you have an issue with this city, say something. Volunteer. If you find the parks are dirty, if you, whatever is going on, volunteer. I can point you in the right direction. I can, be the change that you want to be. It starts with you. So if whatever it is that you're dissatisfied with, if it's the chamber and we're not doing something right, it's a volunteer position. Please come join us, help us. We need the help. So don't think of yourself as just somebody that does not have the ability to affect something or change something. You do. At least, to start with in your own world, be the change, and the rest will just happen on its own.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions, if anybody has questions for our amazing panelists.
I'd like to add a comment from a community member. I'm born and raised in Renton. I'm the branch manager for East Hill Wafet Bank, and as a chamber member, board member, and chair of the ambassador committee, I challenge everybody in this room to visit small businesses. Right. One of the things that I noticed up on that slide was how do we gain more customers. My family and I, we go out to farmers markets from here to Port Orchard, all the way up to Bellingham and back. Every Saturday, we pick 2 new restaurants, right, and we try it out. And I think that's the fabric of what makes community. I'm sure we go out and eat pizza, we go get coffee. Nothing against Starbucks, but I'm sure everybody here drinks Starbucks, right? But there's so many small coffee shops that are looking for that opportunity. New restaurants, new pizza shops, all of that. So my challenge is for everybody in this room is just to do that. Be part of the community.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, let's give a hand to our panelists. Thank you all for being here.